In this video, we are going to be designing our first book cover using Adobe Photoshop. No, it doesn't matter what kind of book you're designing, whether it's a novel, a textbook for school, or a giant Guinness Book of World Records. As long as you know the size, meaning the dimensions, the length, the height, and also the width of the spine, you can design it in Photoshop. So we're going to be designing a book cover one, and we're going to be putting that design onto a mock-up to see what the book will actually look like. So without no further delays, let's start designing. So here we are in Adobe Photoshop, and you guys know the drill. I'm just going to go create new, and then I'm just going to change my document size right here. I'm just going to change this first of all from pixels to inches, and I'm just going to make this document 11 inches wide by 8 inches high. And the reason why I'm doing that is the design I have in my mind is the front cover should be 5 inches, the back cover should be 5 inches, but the spine of the book should be about 1 inch thick, right? So that in total is 11 inches wide, and then I'm doing 8 inches high. Remember, before you start designing a book cover, you need to know the dimensions of your book, right? That is utterly important. All right, so let's continue. And I'm just going to keep my resolution at 300, and then we're just going to hit create. All right, so here we have our new template open, and the first thing I'm going to do is just drag some guides down on my document to make sure that my design is within the safe area for printing. This is just me assuming from just for the purposes of this tutorial, but in knowing the size that your book will be, you can just drag some guides to make sure that, hey, I'll give myself like an inch or half inch room for error where printing is concerned. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to start by clicking on my ruler, the horizontal ruler, and just dragging while holding shift, clicking and dragging while holding shift to about 0.5 inches. It says 0.5 inches. All right, and I'm just going to repeat that step on the bottom. My document is 8 inches high, so I'm just going to stop at 7.5 inches, and then the same on the sides, left and right, 0.5. My document is 11 inches wide, so I'm stopping at 10.5, and I'm just going to hit Ctrl and S to save, and let me just name this LSPV 040 book tutorial. All right, and just let's hit save. All right, now that I have these guys here, I'm just going to add some more for where the spine of the book will be. So I know the spine of my book will be in the middle, right? And my front cover will be 5 inches wide, and my back cover the same, 5 inches wide, right? So I'm just going to drag out from the vertical ruler here by clicking and holding shift, and I'm just going to stop at 5 inches, right? And then the width of my spine from that 5 inches will be 1 inch, so my spine will be at 6 right here. So this middle portion here will be the width of my spine. And then let me just put a marker in the middle of that, another guide, sorry, in the middle of that at 5.5 inches. And then now you can see that the shape of our book, or where we will be designing on our book, is starting to come together, right? Let me just drag another guide down from the horizontal ruler to mark the center of my book, and that should be about 4 inches because my document is 8 inches high. And you can see we're starting to get some kind of like real professional layout, right? Always use guides in your designs, especially for projects like this. It will be a real help. All right, so I have my guides here, right? This is where my designs will stop. This is where the edge of the book will be. Let's just say that, right? Do I want my design to come all the way up here? No, I don't. Let me just drag another guide, let's say about 0.125 inches from there, right? So 0.625, and let's just repeat that all around. All right, to about there. Same on the other side, about there. Same on the other side. Well, actually, I'm just going to make them bigger. Let's make them 0.25 instead of 0.125. All right, I'm just extending them by 0.125 again to make them equal 0.250. Alright, let's do the same on the horizontal at the bottom, about there. So I'm assuming that this is where the edge of my book will fold over, and then this is where I want my design to stop all around. So I won't be designing all the way out to the edge, right? Control and S to save. And I'm just going to start by bringing in an image that I want to use for my book cover. And I'm just going to start as well after that by just writing some text. So first, let's bring in our image, right? And I'll put a link in the description as to where I got these images. As you know, I've worked with Envato in the past. This video is not sponsored, but the images I'm going to be using in this tutorial are from Envato Elements. So I'll be sure to link those in the description as well. So let's go ahead and bring in our image. I have it right here, and I think it's this one. Just clicking and dragging it in. And let me just increase the percentage here to about that. That looks good. That looks good. I'm just going to press enter. Oop, no, sorry. Enter. Control and S to save. Okay. So what I should have mentioned is what kind of book I will be designing today. And I had in mind for like a motivational book, like the title I wrote down was like, just like every other event in life, you must prepare for success, or you have to prepare for success, something of the sort. So that's why I'm using this athlete, tying his shoes, his running shoes, getting ready to train or practice, preparing for success. So that's my chain of thought. So let's continue. So next, I'm just going to start by writing the title of my book by hitting T on my keyboard for the type tool. And then let me just start by writing just like, wait, let me make that a bit bigger and change the color to white. All right, let me just move. I just changed the color over here on my properties tab. Trust me, properties tab, lifesaver. All right, so just like, and I just hit T just now to get back my type tool and just clicked on the text that I had there, and now I can continue by adding more to the text, right? Just like every other event in life, you must prepare for success. All right, and I just selected all of it by hitting Control and A on my keyboard, and then I'm just going to align the text to the left by coming up here to my tool options, or I could have done it over here on my properties tab, right? Hit that and then pressed enter on my keyboard, and this is the text that I have here, and this is the title of my book. Control and S to save. Let me just go ahead and increase the size of my text over here on my properties tab to about 60. 60 is good, but let me just go ahead and adjust the leading right here, these two A's with the vertical arrows. Let me just change this to about 18. Oh, that's too little. Let me adjust it somewhere about that. Now that my text is way larger, let me just move the event down one line. I'm hitting T on my keyboard and just pressing on my font, clicking on my font, delete this space, press enter for the line break, and then let me just move event in life to, let me just move in life, sorry, up next to event, right? All right, that's what I want. And let me just have prepare in the next line, and then for success. That looks good. Let me just press enter. Let me bring for in the same line as prepare and just have success as an orphan below. All right, now I'm just going to move the font onto my guides so it's sitting right against the guides, right? Let me just zoom in some more. See that right there? That looks good, but I don't want the font, the text, to be covering the athlete this much. So let me just hit Control and T on my keyboard while selecting my text layer here. And then let me just click on a corner and just size it down like this. All right, that looks good. Let me press enter. What I'm probably going to have to do now is make it a bit smaller, because I just realized that I need to write the name of the author, right? Which is, I'm just going to use like something generic. So let me just move it up some more there, and just let me hit T one more time for the text tool, and let me just write author. Well, that's too big. Let me change it to about 30. Author first, and last name, and then about there. Now I can move the title up some more, right? It's still touching his feet, but it's not too terrible, right? That's not too bad. And what I want to do is, let me just change the color of some of the text here. I'm just going to select in life and then change the color here to about like a really bright yellow, and then prepare for success. You know, a nice little cool text effect to yellow, just like that. All right, Control and S to save, and let me change the weight of the author first and last name. I could just click on it right here in my layers, come over to my properties tab, and then just change it from bold to about book, or that's too thin. Let's do regular, right? That works, right? All right, Control and S to save, and then I'm just going to add the LearnShare logo right here. I have a logo in a circle. I'm just going to put it right there, right? I'm just going to go into my folder, drag it in, and I want it right up here. Let me just size it down a bit by just clicking on one of the edges and dragging it in. Depending on the version of Photoshop that you're using, if you click on one of the edges like so, if you're not holding the shift key, then what you'll notice happening is this will start to happen when you click on one edge, right? But in my version of Photoshop, I don't have to hold the shift, so that's a cool little tip there to note, right? All right, about there. Okay, so that's the basic idea that I have for the front cover. Now let me go ahead and start working on the back cover. I'm not going to go too complex. I just want to give you guys a general idea of how powerful Photoshop is in creating a book design, right? So let me just go ahead and group all that we used so far. Let's go ahead and group all of these. Let's do Control and G and name that front cover, right? To organize our layers, and hit Control and S to save. And then let me just go ahead and borrow the author first and last name, and let me just drag it. Let me just duplicate it, sorry, by hitting Control and J, and just drag it outside of the group. And let me just bring it over to the back cover to about here. Oh, I think what I should have done also was used a guide to mark the middle of the front cover and the back cover, so I can like pin elements to the center, right? So let me just go ahead and drag a guide off the vertical ruler while holding shift, and I think the middle would be 5 inches. That would be about 2.5 inches, about that. But remember, 2.5 inches, yes, but I also had this second guide right here, which was 0.25 inches over to the right some more, so I have to add 0.25 inches to this here. So let's do right there. That is the center of my back cover, and let me go ahead and do the same for the front cover, right? Just clicking and dragging. So this will be about, well, it would have been 7.5 or 8, it would have been, and let's just go over about 2.5. Is that correct? I am not sure, but it will have to work for now. Oh, I think it needs to go over by 0.25. Yes, no, that looks better. Let me undo that, or maybe there, that looks much better. Control and S to save. And what I wanted to have happen here was I wanted to have an image of the author on the back cover. You know, that's how books are normally designed. They normally have an image of the author on the back and a brief like bio of the author as well on the back. So let me just go ahead and create a shape by hitting U on my keyboard for the shape tool, and let me just create a little square here or rectangle here, right? And then I can just hit V for the move tool, and I can center it on the line, the center line that I made there. And then I'm just going to move the author first and last name copy up underneath it a little more, and then I'm just going to bring in an image that I had downloaded also from Envato Elements for the author's image, right? Control and S to save, go back into my folder and just drag this image in. This is the image that I had, and then let me go ahead and move it above the rectangle, right? Because what I want to do next is right click on the businessman image and then click create clipping mask, and that will clip it to the shape that I made just now, or it will clip it to whatever layer is right beneath it, right? And as you can see in my layers list here, I have the businessman image right above the rectangle layer. So let's go ahead and hit right click again and hit create clipping mask. See that? Now let me just hit Control and T, and then let me just size down the image that I have, and then let me just move it over some more. Size it down a little bit more. That's about good, right? Hit enter, and that's good. And the rectangle that I have here, I want there to be a white border around the image of the author. So I'm just going to click on the rectangle, come over here to my properties tab, and just change. You see this white box right here with a little strike through it? That's telling me that there is no stroke. So I'm just going to change this to white, or I could have hit U on my keyboard for my shape tool options and come up top here and do the same thing. Change this from the strike through. Oops, sorry. Change this from a strike through to white, and then just increase the size to about 30. Maybe not so much. Let's do 25, or probably just 20. That's good, right? Let me just move this up a little bit closer. I'm just holding shift on my keyboard and hitting the up and the down arrow to get it where I would want it. Let's move it down some more, and then let me make the businessman image and the rectangle. Let me just hit Control and T. I selected both of them by holding Control and clicking on each of them, and then I'm hitting Control and T for the transform option, and then I'm just going to drag it and make it bigger. Drag one corner to make the image bigger, and then let me select the rectangle by itself and just align it back to this guide right here, and then let me move the image over some more, about there. That's good. And let me hit Control and S to save, and then I'm just going to use some filler text, some random text. I'm just going to hit T on my keyboard. The filler text is for the bio of the author. Obviously, if you were designing a book, you'd get the bio from the author or from the publisher who hired you, right? I'm just going to hit Control and T like I just said, and I'm going to click and drag, and that will give me some random filler text, right? See that? But that text is way too big, so let me go ahead and size that down up top to about 16, and let me just adjust the leading. Remember we adjusted the leading earlier. Adjust that to about, let's just use auto. All right, see here we have text, and let me just change this by selecting everything and changing it back to bold from regular. That looks good. And then let me just adjust the paragraph by going here over my paragraphs, turning off hyphenate, and then let me just justify everything as left, or maybe center. No, let's do, yeah, center is fine. All right, that's fine. Let's make it a bit smaller. It's still too big. Let's change it from 16 to 13. Remember, I'm over my properties tab, right? If you don't have your properties tab in Photoshop, you can just go up top to window, and then you can just scroll down and click properties, and when it pops up, you literally just drag it over anywhere you want it, right? All right, let me just copy all this text and then space and paste it. That way we have a little bit more text, right? Let me just delete what I don't want. All right, that looks good. That looks good. Let me just probably change that to black, or no, let's just keep it that way for now. Let me just move it up, and then let me group everything so far on the back cover. I'm just, everything here above the front cover group, I'm just selecting the top one and hold shift, and then selecting the bottom one. If that's not how it is in your layers, you could have just select the top one or select any one of them and just hit Control and then select everything else one by one. Then I'm just going to press Control and G on my keyboard to group my layers, and then I'm just going to name it back cover, right? The next thing that's always on the back of a book is a barcode and ISBN number. I think ISBN means International Book or International Standard Book Number or something like that, but it's a unique code that identifies every book. Every single book has an ISBN number, right? So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm hitting U on my keyboard for my shape tool, and I'm just going to create a white box. You know, your barcodes are normally on solid color backgrounds or white backgrounds because they're black, right? And it makes them easier to scan. And then I'm just going to change the color of my shape tool. I can do it up here, up top, or over here on my properties tab. I'm just going to change it to black, and then I'm just going to, sorry, not changing it to black while I have my shape selected, because that will change the shape of the color of my shape. So I'm just going to change it now that I'm not on my shape layer. And then let me just zoom in here. I'm just going to create like some barcode lines, just random barcode lines. You know, if everybody's familiar with barcodes, right? It's below the rectangle layer over here. See, so you're not seeing it. Let me just move it up. There it is. And let me just make it a bit wider by hitting Control and T for control options, and then pressing enter, then duplicating it by pressing Control and J. All right, oops, sorry. Moving it over, duplicating it once more, Control and J, moving it over. But let me change the size of the third one, because as you know, the weights of the lines in your barcodes are always different and always random. All right, let me just select the first one. Oops, the first one that's a bit thicker, and duplicate that once more, and then just move it over. I mean, when you're designing an actual book, you will have to make a space on the book with just the white like that, and then the publisher or the author will give you that official barcode that you will just slap onto your design just like that. All right, let me just select all of them by hitting the first one and then holding Shift on my keyboard and then clicking the last one, and then hitting Control and J, and then just dragging them over. You see those little pink digits there? It's telling me that all of these are the same distance apart, right? And just repeating the step until I have enough barcodes to fill this shape, right? Let me just go ahead and group all of these, and then Control and G, and then let me just name it barcode, right? And let me go back in, and let me just select the ones that are black and just group them and call it barcode lines. Let me just rename this to white barcode box, right? And then let me just hit Control and T on the white barcode box, and let me just extend or shrink the width, right? That's about good. Let me select both of them, the barcode lines and the white barcode box, and with both of them selected, let me just go up top to my move tool options and align the vertical and the horizontal centers. Let me just make the barcode box a little bit taller. About that, that's good. What I did was just hit Control and T for my control options, and then held Alt on my keyboard, and then when I held Alt and click and drag the bottom right there, it's doing the same thing on top. See that? So about there is good, right? Now I can just move this group that says barcode. I can move it anywhere I want, and it all moves together, right? All right, let's put it here, and then let's say we want the ISBN number, hitting T on my keyboard for my text tool. Then let me write ISBN. Is it like a 12-digit number or something like that, or 13? 0123 dash, let me zoom in some more for you guys. 4567. Wait, 4567 891200. All right, let me just adjust or edit this image because I want the text to stay white, but I want it to be a little bit more visible. So let me just go ahead and edit this image by clicking on it and then going up top to filter, then camera raw filter. That way I will be able to edit the photo, right? Now this is the camera raw filter here. And I'm just going to move some quick sliders. Firstly, I'm just going to adjust the exposure, make it a little bit darker. I'm just going to go to HSL adjustments up here. And I'm just going to go to saturation and just increase the saturation of the blue and the aqua, because there's a little bit of aqua in there. You may not be able to see it, but I can tell that there's some aqua in there. Not a lot, but just a little bit. See that? That's with no aqua. This is with all of the aqua, right? Let's bring the blue up some more. Go back to the basic. Let's see what else I can change. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep that for now and just hit OK. And you can see now the white text is really popping off of the blue as well as the yellow, right? Because it's much more legible now that we adjusted the image. Let me zoom out some more. Control and T to adjust the image. Hit OK. And then let me just size down this guy some more to about there, right? Hit enter on my keyboard. All right, this is looking good so far. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let me make the ISBN a bit bigger, about 16, and then let me just move it over to right beneath the barcode, right? And then let's move that down. Let's select the ISBN and the barcode, move it all the way down to be in line with the guide, just like the author's name right here, just on that same line, because that's why we have guides, right? So we can make our designs symmetrical and everything looks neat and organized and really just aligned and professional. Let me just drag the barcode and the ISBN into the back cover group, and as well as the image. Oops, sorry. Not that image. The image is already in there. Oh, my bad. And let me just do the same thing by just changing the image of the businessman to black and white. I'm just going to go filter, camera raw filter, and then let me just drag saturation all the way down to -100. See that? This is what happened. It was right here at 0. Well, 0, and then I drag it all the way down to -100, right? And let me just turn off the guide so you can see what we have thus far. That's what we have thus far. Not too bad, right? Let me hit Control and S to save. Oh, by the way, to turn off the guide, you know, it's Control on your keyboard and semicolon, right? Let's do the same thing to turn them back on. And let me just put a little style right here for the author, or let me just change the author name on the back cover to yellow by just clicking on that and just finding it over here on my properties tab, and then just picking the yellow from the in life, right? That looks good. And let me just change it back from regular to bold. That looks better. All right, Control and S to save. And what you can do next is, well, not can do, what you should do and need to do next is you need to put the name of the book and the author's name in the middle on the spine right here. But before I do that, let me just organize the back cover. Let me just move down the image. Let me just group it with the rectangle, Control and G. And let me just name that author's image. And let me just select that, the author's name and the text, and just move it down about 10 by holding Shift and moving the down arrow on my keyboard 10 times, or pressing the down arrow on my keyboard 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, you could have just done that manually, but I'm just weird like that. And then let's select ISBN and barcode, and then let's move that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's equal distances, right? Organization and the uniformity. All right. Let's close the back cover group, Control and S to save. And I think I want to change the ISBN, or let me just move the ISBN down so it's not being hindered by the white line of the photo. No, let me move it and the barcode down some more. Or what I could do is just decrease the exposure of the image some more, this image right here, and I could just double click camera raw filter and just move the exposure down somewhere, just like that. All right, that's looking better. Control and S to save, and then let's turn the guides off, see what we have. Not too bad. What do you guys think? And then in the spine area right here in the middle, I want to have the title and the author first name and last name, right? So let me just go ahead and go into my front cover group and just duplicate the name of the book, just like every other event in life. Control and J. Let's move it outside of the group. Let's also duplicate author first and last name by clicking on it and hitting Control and J, and then moving them over. I'm going to have to edit the text just like every other. All right, I just hit T on my keyboard and clicked on it, and let's make it smaller, like way smaller, right? Because it's not going to be that big on the spine. All right, and I'm just deleting the line breaks and just, you guys know how to do that, standard text editing, right? And let's change the alignment to center. All right, and then let's move it over some more, and let's align the author and first and last name right underneath it, and let's make that about 15. Let's align it center as well. Select both of them, align them by pressing V and aligning their horizontal centers, and then moving it up really close. Let's make them a bit smaller by hitting Control and T. Let me turn the guides off just now, or just for now, and let me just size this down to about 90%, right? Turn the guides back on, Control and T on both of them, and then let me just rotate them 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to move them into the middle of the spine area, right? If you want to see where the center is, you could just hit Control and T while having both of them selected, and you will get the see this dot right here and up here. That's the center, and but this horizontal one is not falling. Let me turn the image off. Oops, this horizontal one is not, these lines right here, these dots, they're not falling on this blue line, the blue guide, which is telling me that they're not centered. So let me just drag it down until it's centered. See, those pink lines mean everything is aligned. And let me just turn back on my image. Let me hit Z on my keyboard for the zoom tool, and then hit fit screen. All right, Control and S to save, and there we have it. Let me turn the guides off and see what we have. What do you guys think? I'm really liking it so far. Next, as I mentioned earlier, we're just going to slap this design onto a mock-up to see how our book will actually look when printed and published, right? So let's do that. Before we do that though, let me just clean up my design by creating a spine group, because we don't have a spine group right now. So with both of these selected over here in my layers, let me just hit Control and G and then rename that group to spine, right? Different areas of our book. Front cover, spine, back cover, right? Pretty uniformed and organized. Then Control and S to save. And if you guys wanted, you can create a book design by not using a photo like I have here. You could have just used like colors and shapes. So if I were to do that, I can just turn off this image right here, then come down to my layer options here and click solid color, and I could just choose a color here, just mix a random color or pick a particular color from an image. And you see that it's really starting to come together, right? So you can also do that option if you wanted to use just a solid color on your book or a photo. You guys have options. Remember, your design creativity is whatever you're feeling and thinking, right? Whatever looks good to you. All right, let me just delete that. Hit Control and S again, and to add it to our mockup, we have to save it as a JPEG or PNG or whatever. And what's important is you have to make sure that you save your book design in the required file format that the publisher or the printers need, right? So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to hit Ctrl Shift and S, and I'm just going to save this as a pretty standard JPEG. Nothing too complex, nothing much to think about, right? Let's go ahead and hit OK. Now I'm just going to open the mockup that I have. I also got this mockup from Envato Elements. Remember, this video is not sponsored, but you guys know I use Envato and I love them. So I'll put links in the description as to which mockups I got from Envato, right? And let's go ahead and open that mockup. All right, number 7. And as you can see here, this image is what we'll be changing, right? So how mockups work is they're mock-ups, right? They are like what your design can look like when they're actually printed or on a product, right? So you can do a mock-up of like a coffee cup, a book. Obviously we're doing a book right now, a t-shirt, you know, anything you can think of, you know, product packaging, you know, canned items, tinned items, canned soda. You can do so much and get so creative with mock-ups. And if you wanted to build a portfolio, to say, if you wanted to market yourself as someone who can design like product labels or just anything to do with mockups in general, you can just download some mockups, design some stuff, and put yourself out there and build your portfolio, right? All right, so let's just go ahead and change the covers of this mockup right here. Let me turn, you can also do an inside mockup of the book, but let's turn that one off because we're not going to be using it. Where is it? Open book, sorry. All right, and these are what we're going to be using today. So right here I have the cover, the placeholder. These are what I'm going to be changing by just double clicking, and then you can see how this is designed similar to ours. I'm just going to drag my image onto this mockup right here, and then when I save it, we'll get the mockup of our book, right? It's really cool. All right, remember I said that for the purposes of this tutorial I'm just using a generic size, and I said when you're designing your book, the mockup that you'll use, it doesn't have to be the exact size, but you can just use a mockup to show what the book will look like. But try and use a mockup that is as close as possible to what the client will want if you're pitching it to a client, right? And let's just increase the size just till it covers the entire mockup area, right? To about there. That looks good, and let's press enter, and then let's save this. Okay, you could turn off the original one if you want, and look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. What do you guys think? That's what our book would look like if we actually did a book, right? I think this is so cool. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? See, because we used our guides, right? The text is not touching the edge of the book, right? So guides are really, really important and so cool. I love mockups. And as you can see on the spine right here, you can see that the title of the book is also here. How cool is that? We even have our barcode and our ISBN and our logo in the top right hand corner of the front cover and the photo of our author. So cool. What do you guys think? So now that we've designed all of that, here's my question to you. How confident are you to start designing your own book covers, or how confident are you to start offering book designing services to your clients? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Cjam, and I will see you guys in the next video.